The sun beat down on the black asphalt of Highway 17. Cars zipped by, a blur of colors and chrome, each driver focused on reaching their destination. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon, the kind where the heat shimmers off the road and the air smells faintly of gasoline. But today, something was different. On the shoulder of the highway, just past mile marker 42, a beat-up sedan sat with its hood raised. A man stood beside it, his brow furrowed in what appeared to be distress. He waved his arms, a silent plea for help against the roaring traffic. He held a piece of cardboard with large, shaky letters scrawled across it, "Need gas money." His clothes were rumpled, his face unshaven. He looked every bit the part of a traveler down on his luck, someone who had made a wrong turn or simply run out of gas at the worst possible moment. Many drivers glanced at him as they sped past, perhaps feeling a pang of sympathy, but few stopped. Time was precious, and helping a stranger on the side of the road could be risky. The man continued to wave, his hope dwindling with each passing car. He adjusted the sign, making sure it was clearly visible. He even tried to force a smile, hoping to appear less threatening. He knew that his appearance was working against him, but he had no other choice. This was his plan, and he had to see it through. He was counting on someone's kindness, someone's willingness to lend a hand. Little did those drivers know, the man's desperation was a carefully crafted act. The broken-down car was his, but it wasn't truly broken. That "Need gas money" sign was a prop, a tool to lure unsuspecting victims into his trap. He wasn't stranded, he was waiting. He was waiting for someone like Sarah, someone with a good heart and a willingness to help. He was waiting to rob them. The beat-up sedan, a faded blue color, looked like it had seen better days. Rust spots dotted its surface, and the tires were worn thin. It was the kind of car that most people would avoid, but for the man, it was the perfect disguise. It screamed hard luck and desperate times, exactly the image he wanted to project. He leaned against the hood, trying to look exhausted. He sighed dramatically, running a hand through his already messy hair. He wanted to appear vulnerable, someone in need of genuine assistance. He even practiced a slightly pathetic smile, the kind that might tug at someone's heartstrings. That "Need gas money" sign was carefully crafted. He had chosen a piece of cardboard that looked appropriately worn and used a thick black marker to write the message. The shaky handwriting added to the illusion of distress. He wanted it to look like he had written it in a hurry, overcome by desperation. He glanced at his watch, a cheap digital one he had bought at a pawn shop. It was almost noon, prime time for highway traffic. He knew that the longer he waited, the greater the chance of someone stopping. He just had to be patient and maintain his act. He imagined what he would say when someone finally pulled over. He would thank them profusely, acting incredibly grateful for their kindness. He would explain that he was on his way to visit his sick mother and had run out of gas. He would lay it on thick, playing on their sympathy. He had rehearsed the entire scenario in his head countless times. He knew exactly how to act, what to say, and how to manipulate his victims. He was a master of deception, and he was confident that his plan would work. He just needed the right person to stop, someone trusting and kind-hearted. Someone like Sarah. A red minivan slowed, then pulled onto the shoulder a short distance ahead of the blue sedan. The man straightened up, his heart quickening. This could be it. He took a deep breath and plastered on his most convincing look of desperation. A woman stepped out of the minivan. It was Sarah. She was wearing a bright yellow t-shirt and jeans, and her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked like the kind of person who always tried to do the right thing, someone who couldn't resist helping someone in need. "Are you okay?" she called out, her voice filled with concern. The man rushed towards her, his face lighting up with false relief. "Oh, thank goodness," he exclaimed. "I've been stuck here for hours. I ran out of gas, and I don't have any money to buy more." Sarah approached him cautiously. "I can help you with that," she said, reaching into her purse. "How much do you need?" Just enough to get to the next gas station, the man replied, his eyes fixed on her purse. He could see a thick wad of cash inside. Sarah pulled out a $20 bill and handed it to him. "Here you go," she said with a smile. "I hope you get to your destination safely." Thank you so much," the man gushed, taking the money. He paused, pretending to feel awkward. "Actually," he said, lowering his voice, "would you mind if I asked for a little more? I'm really hungry, and I haven't eaten all day." Sarah hesitated for a moment. She had already given him $20, but he did look genuinely hungry. "Okay," she said, reaching back into her purse. "I can spare a few more dollars." This was it. The moment he had been waiting for. As Sarah fumbled with her purse, the man reached behind his back and pulled out a small, silver pistol. The smile vanished from his face, replaced by a cold, hard stare. "Give me the purse," he snarled, pointing the gun at Sarah. "Now." Sarah gasped, her eyes widening in terror. The friendly, helpful woman was gone, replaced by someone frozen in fear. Her hands trembled as she slowly released her grip on her purse. "Don't hurt me," she pleaded, her voice barely a whisper. "Just take it." The man snatched the purse from her hands, his eyes darting around nervously. He didn't want any witnesses. He wanted to get away as quickly as possible. He shoved the gun into his waistband and turned to run back to his car. He fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking with adrenaline. He unlocked the door, jumped inside, and started the engine. Tires squealing, he sped off down the highway, leaving Sarah standing on the shoulder, alone and terrified. He glanced in the rearview mirror, making sure she wasn't following him. He could see her standing there, clutching her chest, her face pale. He grinned, a cruel, satisfied grin. It had worked. His plan had worked perfectly. He had gotten away with it. He reached over and tossed the purse onto the passenger seat. He couldn't wait to see how much money was inside. He imagined all the things he could buy, all the ways he could spend it. He drove for several miles before pulling off the highway onto a deserted dirt road. He stopped the car, took a deep breath, and reached for the purse. He unzipped it and dumped the contents onto the seat. Cash, credit cards, driver's license, a tube of lipstick, a small bottle of perfume, a family photo. He grabbed the cash and stuffed it into his pocket. He glanced at the driver's license. Sarah Miller. He tossed it back onto the seat. He was about to start the car when he noticed something glinting in the sunlight. It was a small, black box mounted on Sarah's dashboard. A dashcam. His blood ran cold. He hadn't seen it before. Had it recorded everything? Had it captured his face? He panicked. He had to get out of here. Now. Back on the highway shoulder, Sarah stood frozen for a moment, the image of the gun still burned into her mind. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, leaving her feeling shaky and nauseous. Tears streamed down her face. She took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure. She reached for her cell phone, her hands trembling so much that she almost dropped it. She fumbled with the buttons and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher answered. I've been robbed. Sarah cried, her voice cracking with emotion. I was on Highway 17, and I stopped to help a man who said he ran out of gas, and he pulled a gun on me and stole my purse. The dispatcher calmly asked for her location and a description of the robber and his car. Sarah did her best to provide the details, her voice still shaking. Okay, ma'am, help is on the way, the dispatcher assured her. Please stay where you are and wait for the police to arrive. Sarah hung up the phone and leaned against her minivan, her legs feeling weak. She couldn't believe what had just happened. She had always tried to be a good person, to help others in need. And this was how she was repaid. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ward off the chill that had settled over her. She felt violated and vulnerable. She couldn't shake the image of the man's cold, hard eyes. A few minutes later, a police car pulled up behind her minivan. Two officers got out and approached her cautiously. They listened to her story, asking questions and taking notes. "Do you think you can identify the man if you saw him again?" one of the officers asked. Sarah nodded. "Yes," she said firmly. "I'll never forget his face." As the officers continued their investigation, Sarah remembered the dashcam. "Wait," she exclaimed. "I have a dashcam in my car. It might have recorded the whole thing." The officers' eyes lit up. This could be the break they needed. The dashcam, a small, unassuming device, had been silently recording everything from its perch on Sarah's dashboard. It was a habit she had developed after a minor fender bender a few years earlier. The other driver had tried to blame her, but the dashcam footage proved her innocence. Since then, she had always kept it running, just in case. Now, that little camera had captured something far more serious than a fender bender. It had recorded the entire robbery, from the moment Sarah pulled over to help the stranded man to the moment he sped away with her purse. The footage was clear and crisp, capturing every detail of the encounter. It showed the man's feigned desperation, his false gratitude, and then the sudden, shocking reveal of the gun. Most importantly, it showed his face. The camera had been positioned perfectly to capture a clear, unobstructed view of the man's face as he demanded Sarah's purse. It was a close-up shot, showing every line and wrinkle, every scar and blemish. There was no doubt that anyone who saw the footage would be able to identify him. The police officers carefully removed the dashcam from Sarah's car and connected it to their laptop. They played back the footage, their eyes widening as they watched the robbery unfold. "This is incredible," one of the officers said. "This is exactly what we needed." The other officer nodded in agreement. "With this footage, we'll be able to identify him in no time." They made a copy of the footage and thanked Sarah for her quick thinking. They assured her that they would do everything they could to catch the robber and bring him to justice. As the police officers drove away, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. The dashcam footage had given them a powerful tool to catch the man who had robbed her. She knew it wouldn't erase the trauma of what had happened, but it would give her some peace of mind knowing that he would be held accountable for his actions. The dashcam recording was her best hope. At the police station, detectives meticulously reviewed the dashcam footage. The robber's face was indeed clearly visible, but identifying him proved to be more challenging than they initially hoped. They ran the image through various facial recognition databases, but no matches came up. They checked local mugshot archives, but the robber's face didn't appear there either. The detectives interviewed Sarah again, hoping she could provide more details that might help them identify the suspect. She described his clothing, his car, and any distinguishing features she could remember. She mentioned a small tattoo on his arm, but she couldn't recall what it looked like. The police officers also canvassed the area around the highway, hoping to find witnesses who might have seen the robber or his car. They showed the dashcam footage to gas station attendants and convenience store clerks, but no one recognized him. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation stalled. The police had the dashcam footage, a clear image of the robber's face, but they were no closer to identifying him. The case was frustrating, and Sarah began to lose hope that the robber would ever be caught. The detectives explained that they were doing everything they could, but they were stretched thin. They had other cases to investigate, other crimes to solve. The robber's case was important, but it wasn't the only one. Sarah understood, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being forgotten. She felt like the robber was getting away with it, and she was powerless to stop him. The police needed a break in the case, something to point them in the right direction. But that break wasn't coming. It seemed like the robber would remain a mystery, a faceless figure who had stolen her peace of mind. The dashcam, while helpful, wasn't enough on its own. Frustration gnawed at Sarah. She couldn't shake the feeling that the police were giving up. The robber was still out there, free to prey on other unsuspecting victims. She had to do something. An idea sparked in her mind. She had seen stories online about ordinary people using social media to solve crimes. Maybe, just maybe, she could do the same. She decided to post the dashcam footage online. She knew it was a long shot, but she had nothing to lose. Perhaps someone, somewhere, would recognize the robber. She created a post on her Facebook page, describing the robbery and sharing the dashcam footage. She asked her friends and family to share the post, hoping it would reach a wider audience. She also posted the footage on a few online forums dedicated to true crime and unsolved mysteries. She knew that these communities were filled with dedicated individuals who were passionate about solving crimes. She wrote a heartfelt plea, explaining what had happened and asking for help. She emphasized that the robber was a danger to the community and needed to be stopped. She braced herself for the potential backlash. She knew that posting the footage online could be risky. She might be criticized for taking matters into her own hands. She might even be targeted by the robber or his associates. But she was willing to take the risk. She was determined to do everything she could to catch the man who had robbed her. She believed that someone out there would recognize him and come forward with information. She closed her eyes and hit the post button. The dashcam footage was now online, available for the world to see. All she could do was wait and hope that someone would recognize the face of the highway robber. She hoped the online sleuths could succeed where the police had so far failed. Sarah's post spread like wildfire. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times. The dashcam footage was everywhere, popping up on news websites, blogs, and social media feeds. The story of the highway robbery and Sarah's plea for help resonated with people all over the world. And then, the online sleuths activated. These were everyday people with a passion for true crime and a knack for online investigation. They scoured the footage, frame by frame, looking for any clue that might help identify the robber. They analyzed the make and model of his car, the license plate, which was partially obscured but still potentially identifiable, and the clothes he was wearing. They zoomed in on his face, scrutinizing every detail. They compared his features to known criminals in the area, searching for any possible matches. They explored online databases, looking for anyone with a similar appearance or criminal history. They shared their findings with each other, collaborating and coordinating their efforts. They were a team of virtual detectives, working together to solve a real-world crime. Some focused on the tattoo Sarah had mentioned, trying to identify the design and its potential meaning. Others tried to enhance the image of the license plate, using sophisticated software to clarify the obscured numbers and letters. They were relentless, driven by a desire to help Sarah and bring the robber to justice. They spent hours poring over the footage, searching for that one crucial clue that would crack the case. The online forums buzzed with activity. Theories were proposed, leads were followed, and progress was slowly but surely being made. The online sleuths were determined to solve the mystery of the highway robber, and they weren't going to give up until they had found him. Sarah's hope was renewed by their efforts. The online sleuths focused on 3 key details visible in the dashcam footage: a tattoo on the robber's left forearm, a faded bumper sticker on his car, and the make and model of his car. Each detail offered a potential pathway to identifying him. The tattoo was a blurry image, but the sleuths used image enhancement software to sharpen it. It appeared to be a tribal design, possibly a dragon or a snake. They started searching online tattoo databases, looking for similar designs. They posted the enhanced image on tattoo enthusiast forums, hoping someone would recognize the style or artist. The bumper sticker was even more challenging. It was partially obscured by dirt and grime, making it difficult to decipher. However, after hours of painstaking work, one sleuth managed to make out a few key words: visit Sunny Shores. They Googled those words and discovered that Sunny Shores was the name of a small beach town a few hours away from where the robbery had occurred. The make and model of the car was relatively easy to identify. It was an older model blue sedan, possibly a Ford or a Chevrolet. However, there were thousands of similar cars in the area. The sleuths needed more information to narrow down the search. They started cross-referencing the details. They searched for blue sedans with "Visit Sunny Shores" bumper stickers in the Sunny Shores area. They looked for individuals with tribal tattoos who owned such cars. The task was daunting, but they were making progress. They were slowly piecing together the puzzle, one clue at a time. They knew that the robber was out there, and they were determined to find him. They believed that the combination of the tattoo, the bumper sticker, and the car would eventually lead them to his doorstep. The unique clues gave them hope. The sleuths turned their attention to social media, specifically Facebook and Instagram. They reasoned that if the robber lived in or near Sunny Shores, he might have a social media profile. They created search queries based on the keywords "Sunny Shores," "tattoo," "blue sedan," and variations thereof. They started scrolling through countless profiles, comparing the profile pictures to the image of the robber from the dashcam footage. It was a tedious and time-consuming process, but they were determined to leave no stone unturned. They looked for people who had recently posted about needing money or having car trouble. They checked for mentions of Highway 17 or nearby areas. They also searched for online groups related to Sunny Shores, hoping to find someone who recognized the robber. They posted the dashcam footage and asked for information, emphasizing the importance of anonymity. Many profiles were quickly ruled out. The faces didn't match, the cars were different, or the individuals lived too far away. But the sleuths persisted, knowing that the robber's profile could be just a few clicks away. They developed a system for organizing their findings, creating a spreadsheet to track potential suspects. They included links to their social media profiles, images of their cars, and any other relevant information. The social media search was a digital needle in a haystack, but the sleuths were confident that they would eventually find their man. They knew that the robber had made a mistake by showing his face on camera, and they were determined to make him pay for his crime. The internet search was now on. They were sifting through thousands of profiles. After countless hours of searching, a breakthrough. One of the sleuths, a young woman named Emily, stumbled upon a Facebook profile that sent a jolt of excitement through the entire group. The profile belonged to a man named Michael Davis. His profile picture showed him standing next to an older model blue sedan. And on his left forearm, a tribal tattoo was clearly visible. Emily immediately shared the profile with the other sleuths. They zoomed in on the profile picture, comparing Michael Davis's face to the image of the robber from the dashcam footage. The resemblance was uncanny. They scrolled through his other photos, looking for more clues. They found a picture of his car with a faded bumper sticker that appeared to say, "Visit Sunny Shores." They also noticed that he had recently posted about needing money for car repairs. The evidence was mounting. Michael Davis seemed to fit the description of the robber perfectly. But they needed to be sure. They couldn't risk making a false accusation. They delved deeper into his profile, searching for any information that might confirm their suspicions. They discovered that he lived in Sunny Shores and had a criminal record for petty theft. The sleuths were convinced that they had found their man. Michael Davis was the highway robber. They had cracked the case. They had done what the police couldn't do. Emily contacted Sarah and shared the Facebook profile with her. She explained that they believed Michael Davis was the man who had robbed her. She urged her to contact the police and share their findings. The online search might be over. The end of the hunt was near. Emily sent Sarah the link to Michael Davis's Facebook profile. Sarah's hands trembled as she clicked on it. She scrolled through the photos, her heart pounding in her chest. She enlarged the profile picture, focusing on his face. It was him. There was no doubt in her mind. The same cold, hard eyes that she had seen on the highway. The same lines and wrinkles. The same face that had haunted her dreams for weeks. She compared the Facebook photos to the dashcam footage, side by side. The resemblance was undeniable. The shape of his nose, the set of his jaw, the way he squinted his eyes. It was the same person. She felt a surge of anger and relief wash over her. The man who had robbed her, the man who had terrorized her, had been identified. He was no longer a faceless figure. He was Michael Davis, a man with a name, a face, and a Facebook profile. She took a deep breath and called the police. She explained that the online sleuths had found a possible match for the highway robber. She shared Michael Davis's name and Facebook profile with the detective in charge of her case. The detective was skeptical at first. He had never heard of online sleuths solving a crime before. But he agreed to take a look at the information. He compared the Facebook photos to the dashcam footage, just as Sarah had done. He had to admit, the resemblance was striking. He thanked Sarah for the information and promised to investigate. The police now had a solid lead to pursue. The online sleuths had seemingly cracked the case. The online sleuths compiled all their findings into a detailed report for the police. They included Michael Davis's full name, his address in Sunny Shores, links to his Facebook and Instagram profiles, and screenshots of the key photos that matched the robber's description. They also included information about his criminal record for petty theft and his recent online posts about needing money for car repairs. They wanted to provide the police with as much evidence as possible to support their claim that Michael Davis was the highway robber. Emily, the sleuth who had found Michael Davis's profile, stayed in close contact with Sarah, providing her with updates on the investigation. She assured Sarah that they would continue to support her until the robber was brought to justice. The detective assigned to Sarah's case, Detective Miller, reviewed the report with his team. He was impressed by the thoroughness of the online sleuth's investigation. He had to admit, they had done a better job than his own department. He decided to take the information seriously and launch a formal investigation into Michael Davis. He sent a team of officers to Sunny Shores to conduct surveillance on his home and car. He also obtained a warrant to search Michael Davis's Facebook and Instagram accounts. He hoped to find additional evidence that would link him to the robbery. The police were now fully engaged in the investigation. Thanks to the efforts of the online sleuths, they had a solid lead to pursue. The highway robber's days of freedom were numbered. The online work was done, it was now up to the police. The surveillance team in Sunny Shores quickly located Michael Davis's residence. It was a small, run-down apartment in a low-income neighborhood. They set up a discreet observation post across the street, monitoring his movements. A few hours later, Michael Davis emerged from the apartment. He was wearing the same style of clothing that the robber had worn in the dashcam footage, a faded t-shirt and jeans. He walked to a beat-up blue sedan parked down the street. The officers zoomed in on the car. It was an older model Chevrolet, just like the one in the dashcam footage. They could even make out a faded bumper sticker that said, "Visit Sunny Shores." They ran the license plate number through their database. The car was registered to Michael Davis. Everything was lining up perfectly. They contacted Detective Miller and informed him of their findings. He instructed them to maintain surveillance and wait for further instructions. He wanted to gather as much evidence as possible before making an arrest. Detective Miller obtained a search warrant for Michael Davis's apartment and car. He wanted to search for the gun used in the robbery, Sarah's purse, and any other evidence that might connect him to the crime. The police were confident that they had found their man. The online sleuths had done their job, and now it was up to law enforcement to bring Michael Davis to justice. The police were closing in on Michael Davis. The car matched what they saw on the dashcam. The police waited until Michael Davis returned to his apartment before making their move. As he unlocked the door, they swarmed him, shouting, "Police! Don't move!" Michael Davis was startled but quickly regained his composure. He denied knowing anything about a robbery on Highway 17. He claimed he had been home all day. The police searched his apartment and car, but they didn't find the gun or Sarah's purse. However, they did find a stack of cash hidden under his mattress. They took Michael Davis to the police station for questioning. He continued to deny any involvement in the robbery. He insisted that he had earned the cash through honest work. Detective Miller decided to show him the dashcam footage. He played the video on a large screen, forcing Michael Davis to watch himself robbing Sarah at gunpoint. Michael Davis's face paled as he watched the video. He could no longer deny the evidence. He knew he was caught. He broke down and confessed to the robbery. He admitted that he had been pretending to be stranded to lure unsuspecting victims. He said he had been desperate for money and saw no other way to get it. He told the police where he had dumped Sarah's purse and the gun. The police were able to recover both items, further solidifying their case against him. Michael Davis was arrested and charged with armed robbery. He was held in jail awaiting trial. Sarah and the online sleuths had finally brought him to justice. The robber has been caught. He is now in jail. Michael Davis was formally charged with armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He faced a long prison sentence if convicted on all charges. The prosecution presented the dashcam footage as their key piece of evidence. It was irrefutable proof of Michael Davis's guilt. They also presented Sarah's testimony, in which she described the terror she had felt when he pointed the gun at her. Michael Davis's defense attorney argued that he had been desperate for money and had acted out of desperation, not malice. He pleaded for leniency, arguing that Michael Davis was a good person who had made a mistake. But the jury wasn't swayed by the defense's arguments. They found Michael Davis guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The judge emphasized the seriousness of his crimes and the impact they had had on Sarah. He said that Michael Davis had betrayed her kindness and trust, and that he deserved to be punished. Michael Davis was led away in handcuffs, his head bowed in shame. His days of pretending to be stranded and robbing unsuspecting drivers were over. He would spend the next 15 years behind bars, paying for his crimes. Sarah felt a sense of relief and closure knowing that Michael Davis was finally being held accountable for his actions. She hoped that his sentence would serve as a deterrent to others who might be tempted to commit similar crimes. The man who robbed Sarah would be in prison for a long time. He had to pay for his crime. Sarah felt an immense sense of relief wash over her when she heard the news of Michael Davis's conviction and sentencing. The nightmare was finally over. She could finally put the robbery behind her and move on with her life. She reached out to Emily and the other online sleuths to express her gratitude. She thanked them for their tireless efforts and their unwavering support. She said that she couldn't have done it without them. "You are all heroes," she wrote in a heartfelt message. "You gave me hope when I had lost it. You showed me that there are still good people in the world who are willing to help others in need." She also thanked the police for their hard work and dedication. She acknowledged that they had been skeptical at first, but they had ultimately taken the online sleuths' findings seriously and brought Michael Davis to justice. Sarah realized that the power of the internet could be used for good. She decided to start a foundation to help other victims of crime connect with online sleuths and use social media to solve their cases. She wanted to empower ordinary people to take action and make a difference in their communities. She believed that everyone had the potential to be a hero, just like Emily and the other online sleuths. Sarah also made sure to thank the dashcam. Without it, Michael Davis may have never been caught. She encouraged other people to get dashcams for their own vehicles. Sarah felt grateful for the support she had received and hoped to use her experience to help others. The horror she experienced was finally over. The online team helped her get her life back. This story is a powerful reminder of the good that can come from the internet. It shows how online communities can come together to solve crimes and bring criminals to justice. The online sleuths, with their passion for true crime and their skills in online investigation, were instrumental in identifying Michael Davis and helping the police catch him. They were ordinary people who used their talents to make a difference in the world. The story also highlights the importance of dashcams. Sarah's dashcam footage provided the crucial evidence that led to Michael Davis's arrest and conviction. It was a silent witness that captured the robbery and provided the police with a clear image of the robber's face. But the story also serves as a cautionary tale. It reminds us that the internet can also be used for nefarious purposes. Criminals can use social media to find victims, plan crimes, and spread misinformation. It's important to be careful about what you share online and to be aware of the potential risks. It's also important to use the internet responsibly and to report any suspicious activity to the authorities. Overall, the story of Sarah and the highway robber is a story of hope and resilience. It shows how ordinary people can overcome adversity and use the power of the internet to create a safer and more just world. The internet can be used to help others. The internet helped catch the robber. It can be a tool for good. The online sleuths were able to help Sarah find justice. While this story celebrates the power of online communities, it's crucial to remember the importance of working with law enforcement and avoiding vigilantism. The online sleuths played a valuable role in identifying Michael Davis, but it was the police who ultimately made the arrest and brought him to justice. It's important for online sleuths to avoid taking matters into their own hands. They should never attempt to contact the suspect directly or engage in any activity that could be construed as harassment or intimidation. That is for the police to handle. Vigilantism can be dangerous and counterproductive. It can lead to innocent people being wrongly accused, and it can undermine the rule of law. It's always best to leave law enforcement to the professionals. In this case, the online sleuths were careful to work within the bounds of the law. They gathered information and shared it with the police, but they didn't attempt to arrest or punish Michael Davis themselves. They understood that it was the police's job to handle the situation. This story serves as a reminder that online communities can be a powerful force for good, but they must be used responsibly and ethically. It's important to work with law enforcement, respect the law, and avoid taking matters into your own hands. The online sleuths were able to help because Sarah reported the crime to the police first. She also went to the police with the information that the online sleuths had provided. Following the proper steps is very important. Vigilantism can be very dangerous and can cause more harm than good. It's important to always work with the police. The police are there to help. Sarah hopes that her story will serve as a cautionary tale, reminding people to be cautious when helping strangers. It's important to be aware of your surroundings and to trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it's best to err on the side of caution. However, Sarah also hopes that her story won't discourage people from helping others altogether. Kindness and compassion are essential qualities, and the world would be a better place if more people were willing to lend a hand. The key is to be smart about it. Before stopping to help someone, assess the situation and make sure it's safe. If possible, call the police or a tow truck instead of approaching the person directly. If you do decide to offer help, be aware of your surroundings and keep your distance. Don't give the person any personal information or let them into your car. It's possible to be both cautious and compassionate. Sarah's experience should help others to learn how to stay safe while helping others. Sarah will always be grateful for the support she received from the online sleuths, the police, and her family and friends. She hopes that her story will inspire others to pay it forward and to help those in need. She will continue to advocate for the use of dashcams and for greater awareness of online safety. She believes that everyone has a role to play in creating a safer and more just world. Sarah learned a valuable lesson, and she hopes that others can learn from her experience as well. It's possible to be kind and helpful while also protecting yourself from harm. Being safe is very important. Helping others is a good thing to do when it is safe. It's a tough balancing act.